Ladies and gents, and welcome to the WGLEU Season 2 Match Week 3. I am Lauren Pansy Scott, and I'm back, at least for now, until they fire me again. Joined by Ollie and Melly sitting over in the corner. How are you guys doing today?
Feeling good. Good to have you back on the desk. I mean, it's been an interesting roller coaster with the old Mitchell, but it's been fun so far.
Yeah, we thought we'd bring the quality of broadcast back up after leaving it in the trenches for a while. But Melly, how are you doing today?
I'm feeling awesome. I think, well, we saw what the new format is capable of the last week. The Super Week was amazing. We had amazing games, and I really can't wait for this match week to start. So good having you back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. And of course, even just to catch me up to speed, let's have a little look back at those previous matches, of course, and have a little look at what went down in what Melly did kind of summarise as the Super Week. There's a lot of results going through and a lot to be seen. So, Ollie, you were there. You were in person. I merely watched it with the rest of the peons in Twitch chat. I love you guys. Kappa123. But what do we think of the results so far? What's really stood out? Because this is the start of a brand new season.
Well, first of all, Kansas Crew having a very good start to the season. Obviously, they were very disappointed with the previous season results. And it's good to see them back on form with that 5-0 against Rusty Roster. Just really no competition at all. Strong team at Oops. Oops, obviously, a new team to the season coming through that open qualifier. Impressive that they've got one win under their belt, and even those 3 points is very good for them. And Wombats on Tanks, probably the best team in Europe right now, if not the world, along with Na'Vi and Hellraisers. They are looking very strong. And yeah, they got pushed a little bit by Utopia, but they came away with that win. Yeah,
they brought it back in line, and I'm not too surprised at this. I do remember talking to the Kazna boys and a couple of the lads out of Wombats on Tanks at the end of kind of the last season in between the finals and such, and how they were feeling about that new game mode and the changes that it would bring and kind of the tier adjustments, let's say that way. They were looking forward to it, a little hesitant at first, but it does seem as though certain teams have really started to nail it down.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were saying, okay, the changes might not be a good thing, but actually they turn out to be pretty good. Some things are slowed down a bit, but because there's so many more maps to see per match, it's a lot more entertaining to watch in my eyes. I also prefer the bigger tanks. I think that provides more skill. You get to see as individual players coming out and really performing.
Well, the bigger the better is what I hear. Anyway, guys, in case you didn't really get the grasp of what that Super Week brought to this new season, I think we have a video lined up just for you.
Very warm good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen, here from the ESL studios in Cologne. Welcome to the WGLEU Season 2 for 2015. He knows how to find that target, and he does. He nails that one. He knows he's going to have to give up a little bit for this one, take a bit of damage, but this is still good from Kazna. Only 4 tanks left here from Rusty Roster, and now fire is starting to open up. He's going to find Liftedness on his own. He's going to take the 1v1, and he's going to come out on top as well. Just needs to connect that last shot. He does it easily enough. Panache and a Lucky Blast, they're low, and they're down. That held them together. The Rusty Roster could go through, but this time he's holding like an absolute champ. He finally drops down, but not before 4 tanks from Rusty Roster are already put to bed. Lucky Blast has Alien right behind him, and Eurofish is there as well. He's almost off his reload, and they've already lost this one. Not sure if it was a wise one to take the fight, but there's a fight happening over here as well. Lifters pushing around the corner into Hyper and Venso, but their shots coming in from the off angle. Eurofish got there in the 50B. I don't think Rusty Roster expected them to be here already. Lucky Blast getting chunked on down. None of those blasts have been lucky for him so far, and he and Panache are just going to have to meet them making together, huddling together for some sort of comfort as they go down. And Kazna Crew looking so convincing in this one yet again. They played it to an absolute T. Perfect stuff for them, but he's going to have the time because neither of the tanks he's going up against are autoloaders in themselves. It's all about who gets the first shot. Now, one shot connects, one misses. Genghis going to get that aim down time, which is a little bit long on that batcher. One towards Andre. He's going to have a second one ready as well. One towards Hunterzord. Going back and forth. He should have put 2 towards the one take. This next shot will be very important, and Genghis will have it. He should be able to finish this one off on his own. He's taking his time, and a one-man army comes through. Genghis, a 1v3. Beautiful stuff there. Perfect from Oops. But a very close game. Hunterzord takes a massive beating, 2 shots in towards the side of him. Andre as well taking some damage. Oh, this is not good at all. A good setup in the middle of the map here, but now it might go a little bit against Oops because they're out in the open. Damnus takes a big hit. He's trying to get out of the firing line, and there you go. Genghis just gets absolutely nuked down. Oops with a very strange move to go across the map there, but Andre is taking good damage. Duck of Death is punishing here, but I still don't get that move across the middle. But he takes so much damage in response, he just goes out on his own. He just makes an object of himself now. Health points fairly similar here. Mocha and Bishu are surrounded by a lot of tanks, but Wicked and Shook You off on the side can reply with some of this back now. Still, everything hangs in the balance, but Breakneck getting a bit of focus on him. Bishu also going down to that one shot, but Papa Fancy's a 1v1 against Breakneck. Everyone's sort of splitting off from the main pack now and having their own little brawls on the periphery. Getting a lot of damage done. Booker just a one shot. Forbidden gets taken quite low as well. Papa is just teetering on the edge. Wombats and Tanks have done it. They've got there in the end. Scared us a little bit here, but this fight seems to be definitely in their favour.
Utopia, after 2 easy wins, you could say, on Ruhenberg, a pretty convincing couple of rounds on Prokhorovka. Wombats just wiped the floor with them on steps.
It's always good hearing from Mitch in some way or some form, in case I didn't see enough of him throughout the day-to-day basis. But still, a lot went down in that Super Week. There's a lot of action, a lot of games, and of course that did affect the standings. So let's take a peek at that, and you can kind of walk us through the people who impressed you, who maybe shied away a little, and who's really come out of this season really flying from the start.
Yeah, sure. So for me, obviously, I already mentioned Kazaku. You can see there in the top 2, and I also said how strong Wombats and Tanks are. And just as a general note, first of all, we see a lot more close games. So I think we're going to see a lot more tiebreakers this season. You can see we've added a tiebreaker column, so you can just have a look at that to see how many times that's exactly happened. So, I mean, Knickerbrot,
KB.
Just KB will do. KB is good enough. We obviously, me and Mitch had a bit of a struggle with that last week, but yeah, they're very impressive. New team to the season. Come in with all guns blazing, and with a tiebreaker win and straight win, they are looking very good. Tornado Rocks, you would have expected a little bit more from them, but they struggled against Synergy, but came away with the win, of course, with Lucy Kill and Diador. They are going to be a good team regardless this season, and then from there on down, we can see some of the old, some of the new, and we're only really through the first Super Week, so we can't really draw too many conclusions at this point.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted a really good point, actually, the fact that some of these teams, if we look back at the last season, had a very poor start and then really started to come into their own towards the later part. Your likes of, I guess, Penta, I think we pointed out before, had a really shoddy start, but then by the end of it, warmed up, got into the game. Is there anyone who's maybe edging towards that in your eyes, you see have a lot of potential that maybe will start embracing that a little later into the season?
I think Utopia is going to get better. I think as a team, they look very put together. I mean, obviously they have some issues. I think I mentioned Penta. I think they're going to get better throughout the season as well. Out of range, you'll obviously be seeing first. I mean, DiNG has got a lot of potential. I think all these teams do. As I was talking to Mitch last week about, there's always like 1 or 2 teams in the season who just seem to kind of drop off at the end,
right.
who just don't get any good results. Maybe only a couple of wins under their belt. So we have to see exactly who those 2 are if we actually do get any this time around.
Yeah, you raise a good point. But of course, it's about today's games, as you mentioned, and we will be seeing DiNG and Out of Range to kick things off with. And both teams have a lot of potential, already showing us that they do have some bite to their bark, following that Kazna crew up against KB, because I'm not going to butcher that name just yet, and then to close out Tornado Rocks against Penta.
Yeah, so I mean, most people would say Tornado versus Penta is the one we've got to be looking at because, of course, Penta's second at Season 1 finals, Tornado Rocks winner of Continental Rumble. It could be a very good match, but, Kazna and KB, that's going to be a really good one as well. Both of the teams coming off a couple of wins. Could be close. Yeah,
both in the top 3 there, but let's, of course, take things into a wider aspect here. It's not just about what we think on this desk, it's what you guys at home think as well, and we have the perfect person to take you through it. Melly, if they did want to get involved, if the people out there wanted to maybe get some freebies, some goodies, I hear you are the person.
Oh, probably, yes. I said it, a magic word. So head over to facebook.com/WGLEU. That's the place to be if you want to grab one of our bonus codes that we're giving away. We're giving away 3 bonus codes per match. That makes 9 in total for today. So as said, visit that very Facebook page, get involved in the voting. The first post on our timeline is the set vote. Just get involved, predict the exact scoreline for this matchup. Just have a wild guess. No one knows how these matches will go, especially not with the new format. And maybe you're one of the fastest 3 persons that get it correct, and then boom, you will win a bonus code containing 500 gold and 7 days or 8 days of premium. I'll check later on. And of course, Twitter is another way of getting involved. Use the hashtag WGLEU to send us funny memes, for example, if you want to welcome Lauren back to the show. That's one way of expressing your love towards us. And yes, also, if you have questions, our experts are eagerly waiting for them.
Thank you for unleashing the dank memers on me.
You're very welcome.
Let's focus our aim towards that first game of the day. You said it's going to be, it could be a good one. It may not be the highlighted game, but it certainly can bring a lot to the forefront. So, of course, DiNG up against OR. Now, what can we say about these two teams? What are the big things here to stand out about them too? Because, of course, DiNG has a little bit more of a reputation behind them. They were in the previous seasons. They've been around. They're a little more seasoned, I guess we could say.
Yep.
But what does OR bring to the plate?
Well, Out of Range is a Polish team. They've got some experienced players, Formula One. They've got Carmen, who's of course very well known from Lemon Train, Mouse Sports days. So, an experienced team. They've got to win at least. They can actually show us some really good results if they just work. And they are a team that seems to be working quite hard at how they like to play the game. So I think we can see some good results from them going forwards. You can see the lineup from these two, obviously, and we're on Ghost Town, so we expect some heavier kind of big brutes. Interesting, that DiNG is going for something a little bit heavier than Out of Range, and 3 FE215 B183s. That's something we haven't seen this season so far, and 2 out from Out of Range as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a mouthful there. Can't wait to try and cast that one.
I'll just say
we're going to find out. I'm just going to call them the player names. But no, there are certainly some new tanks to be featured, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing them coming through and seeing what they can bring.
Yeah.
This is my first time hands-on getting to see this myself. We had the kind of test game, I guess, in the offline, well, not finals, but it was kind of, the battle of everything going down. But I'm not too sure how this one's going to play out. I'm certainly excited, and I do believe the teams are almost ready. If I get a prediction from you, what are you going to go for?
I think DiNG should be able to win this one, considering they have a little bit more experience, but I think Out of Range might have just worked for it a little bit harder as well. Okay,
so maybe that, not necessarily natural talent against, the hard work, but let's see how that unfolds. Of course, Ghost Town is going to be coming up here, and the teams are prepared, so we'll be seeing that beautiful fly-through of the map in case you aren't used to it. And it was a relatively newer edition, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this one plays out here. What can we expect? Because things have changed. It's attack, it's defense. It's a little new now. We're going to see one attack, one defending side. It's going to be a little different than normal. It's going to be a little bit more unique. And the kind of way it's played out has been changed. So now talk me through how that's changed here and how that's kind of affected how these rounds are played out.
Yeah, so in the previous season, we only saw it a little bit, this map, because it was a new map to the season.
Not a lot of people. Decider, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think we saw it at the least out of all the maps, perhaps. And it's played kind of in a similar way, but also kind of different. I mean, what we see a lot now is the exchanges in the middle,
Right, okay.
Teams just going for that brawl in the middle square. We see some of their old, Utopia Strong Siema Star, where they pushed up north trying to get in that cap early on, but it's not as successful anymore because of the kind of armor these tanks have. You can't just go hull down and auto aim. You need to actually be aiming for the weak spots these days. So I think the game has changed. It's about keeping your positions, keeping the better positions, not going onto that lower ground, not letting yourself get flanked, staying as a group, but also having, like a Vetso or Yizny in that T-54, in that Batchat, in that RU-251, just flanking around and trying to find those angles. And I think that's an important factor as well, to have that player who can be kind of separate, like a satellite to the whole main group, who can actually influence the game a lot. And
I do like the way the Batchat's been kind of playing into this. From what I've seen, they're almost like that assassin tank. They can't really take those head-on-head fights, but they can go around and surprise so many. You can see someone like Vetso creating so much of a difference. So I'm excited to see if anyone picks these sort of up towards these games, how they decide to play them out, because there's so much variety still in this. But as we've said, it still kind of holds some sort of familiar shape to the old game mode to a degree. You see some form of similarity within the tanks, but we've been saying and seeing a hell of a lot more artillery becoming almost, your standard now. It's your bread and butter. Have there been any players starting to really show their personality on this? Because there used to be some classic players back in the day who were renowned for their artillery skill, but then as it didn't really get played out through the WGL, they had to switch away from it. Are we seeing some new faces coming in, or is it still kind of the old historical players sticking to it?
Well, of course, we got the old face who used to play artillery, who still will play artillery. Kusok, Eurofish, still playing the artillery kind of game. But I mean, we've also got some newer ones. Insane, who was playing it last season a little bit for ASAP. So we have a difference in the way the game is played now. Of course, he's playing for OOP. So I think artillery plays a more significant role. For instance, we saw Meritorious from DiNG play on Ruhenberg with the GV Tiger, and it was a pretty successful at least once. And that's actually a kind of a relic from the old days of when Ruhenberg was a play, where you're trying to get that one shot to really give your team a lead at the beginning. So, yeah, it plays a more significant role.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying the game's going to slow down because these are harder tanks to kill, they're bigger tanks, they got more HP,
Yeah.
but you know, when you're playing Prokhorovka and you're playing Muravanka, which has obviously, you know, rejoined us for this season.
I like seeing them back, to be fair.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. You know, Cliff as well, for some reason was removed in season 1, is back in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see it back. It's a lot of fun. Of course, I think probably our favourite at the Grand Finals 2015.
100%.
There was some fantastic rounds on that. So, yeah, I mean, good to see it back, being used in odd situations. I mean, we've seen it on this map before. I said Ruhenberg, Prokhorovka, we've seen the Lorraines being picked up a lot. We've seen some fantastic shots. We saw insane one shot. I think it was last match day, actually, on Thursday. He one shot T62A. They still lost, but
you know, it
Ojo
looked impressive at that
got
moment.
wrecked, so yeah.
Well, that's the main thing. As long as it looks cool when you're losing, it doesn't really matter, of course.
Exactly.
But no, you guys at home as well. This is a good example for you guys to get involved. Melly is, you know, I think we can get this going between the guys here at the desk and you guys at home. Is what do they think of the new tanks coming out? What are their favourites that are coming in? Because this is a huge factor here. Because I'm starting to see new kind of tanks and players really finding that personality and not being such a kind of, you know, this beige kind of play that's, you know, very generic. It's very much, you know, a personality now that comes along with it.
Absolutely.
Melly, do you think we can get some of the favourites from chat, do you reckon? Like what tanks they're liking so far?
Oh, wait. For next break, definitely. People
Nice.
also use the hashtag WGLEU over Twitter to tweet us what's your current new tank of the new ones. But overall, there's a lot of positive feedback about the tier 10s arrived in this format, and it's really nice to see how people adapt and love those changes. And as you said, the teams can't like rely on the old proven tactics. They have to kind of fight their way back into the game, have to try crazy things, and that makes it really more exciting for us to watch also. And I'm really, really eager to see what's going to happen throughout the season if someone finds something new and crazy and all. And I think it's going to be good. And currently the vote is on 75% for DiNG.
I don't think that's too surprising. I think just because they're a familiar face, I guess people just find comfort picks going for them as well. But as said, there's a little bit of talent coming through on this OR lineup, and they do have the old kind of dog there as well to kind of guide them as well.
Nice.
Hey, Carmen Baxi. Look, Carmen Baxi gave the entire last season. Like those
Still doing it,
Facebook
by the way.
really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them recently. I do apologise, Carmen. I'll check them out. But literally the last season, it was just like these essays of like, here's your predictions from Carmen.
51% to one team, 49% to the other team. Brilliant.
Did he have a bet on his own game yet? As he
No,
puts
I
on?
don't
Wait a
think so,
second,
no.
let me check.
Because
We're waiting
I'd
for that
love to
one.
see that. I'd love to see what he gives himself here. If he's going to be truly like, you know, pure analysis, give him the breakdown, or if he's going to be like, no, we're going to win it straight up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you reckon Carmen would be biased?
Today
Well,
we'll play
I mean,
against-
you know, hashtag conspiracy theory for match fixing his own games. So I'm not going to start that conversation straight
All
away.
right. I bet as it is he's going to predict for himself. I'm not saying he's putting money on it. I don't think anyone's silly enough to bet on Carmen, let's be honest here.
No, exactly.
Rip. Poor old
Just
Carmen.
wrecks him straight away.
Poor
As
old
soon as you're
Carmen.
back, Mitch was being really nice to him actually
I love
last
Carmen
week.
deep
So
down. It's okay. There's deep love here. Very, very deep. But still, I think
enough.
the teams are getting ready. I do apologise once again, guys. We've had to remake that. So once they're going back in, it'll all be smooth, all good, and we'll finally get this one started. And that's exactly what we want here. We're not here just to look at you guys.
Look pretty.
Look at us. Wow.
well,
Ollie, you look beautiful
oh,
today.
thank you very much. I don't think so.
No, I think
been
you
ill
do.
for the last 3 days in bed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was. If I didn't have to be on camera, I definitely would be at home.
Should we just get like a little paper bag and just place it over you just to...
No, that's what happens usually. Just usually on the weekend.
I see. Alrighty, guys. I do believe on that note, we'll be jumping into game and getting this one started up once the teams are prepared. And we are into this one. No more talk of what Ollie gets up to on the weekend. And let's talk about what these guys get up to midweek. So Out of Range will be up on the
Good for
attacking
the
side.
environment, Lauren. Come on.
Make me sick. DiNG on the defending side. And Ollie, what do we see so far?
So, I mean, we already had a look at the tank lineups. Of course, here that T57 logo was wrong, probably because it's a similar name to the other T57, but I was going to get that issue fixed. But very heavy lineups from Mr. Rakar, damn you, Mitch, going for an early spot and trying to get some information. Of course, you know, with a slower lineup, DiNG is not going to have that flexibility. But they will eventually be able to get around the map a little bit quicker. And it isn't actually the FE21 it's not the FE215B 183. It's the FE215B, just a normal heavy tank. So we're not going to be seeing that beast of a tank destroyer this time round. But yeah, I mean, pretty standard setups at the beginning. You can see both teams going for north. Of course, DiNG on the defense. They are trying to keep out of range from going too close to that cap, as it obviously is a very crucial point to keep.
So, this is what I'll get used to, the kind of pacing of this, how they seem to go about it, or how do they kind of weigh the points of taking this map, and where do they take the map control toward? Because, as you said, there's not as much flex in this game mode as there was before. You don't have quite that speed and agility to kind of supplement that, but you are going to see some splits, it seems, coming out here, at least from out of range, looking for opportunities, and it's maybe could be Hulknick and International on that receiving end, but no one's wanting to make that first big move. There's obviously a lot of back and forth to go just yet. There's 8 minutes still left up on the board, 10-minute rounds at this point. So it does take a little bit longer for these guys to get into these positions, but at the moment, what do we see is really define these two? Is there anything out of the ordinary, or is this pretty much your standard start by now?
Well, they're just setting up along a pretty clearly defined line, and I think what you'll see a lot more as well is just a lot of 1 versus 1, a lot more 1 versus 1s, a lot more 2 versus 1s, 3 versus 1s. We've already seen last week, I think, 2 or 3 of them, or maybe even more, where a player has just come out and managed to win a round just based on his own pure skill. So I think, with the heavier maps, this one, for instance, definitely there's going to be less likelihood of that happening. But yeah, on the slightly faster one, Muravanka, Prokhorovka, Cliff, Mines, it's certainly going to be a factor going forwards in the season. But the E100s being a favor on this map for sure. I mean, they're absolute beasts, highest alpha damage from a tier 10 tank, tier 10 heavy tank, so they can really do a lot of pain very early on.
And let's just have a little look as to what's gone on so far in those first kind of 3 minutes by now. Out of range did head fairly north to begin with, northeast side, of course, on the attack there, but they seem to have kind of flexed a little further south, looking for maybe that cap 2 to begin, or at least to, start winding up those sirens, and it does seem to have started, but where's their counterplay so far? Because, of course, they're expecting DiNG to go for that retake and to try and pressure that cap. Where are they set up to receive them at the moment?
Well, DiNG is just going to have to, use a 251 to get around and flex around. I was talking about that tank earlier on. But, with the E100s, they want to be going hull down. They can push in whenever they want. They don't have to really worry about their cap at this point. But Hulknick just takes a shot from the FE215B. And right now, I mean, this is a little bit slower than we're used to in Ghost Town, but a pretty standard setup. You can see, actually, Shockish, International, starting to want to go forwards, and of course as that cap does start to go lower, you will see DiNG want to get those peaks, getting that damage, trying to get some early sort of advantage, and then pushing it through.
Yeah, they're certainly starting to edge towards it. They're looking for these opportunities and these slight angles that may be available to them, but no one really taking too much damage yet. I say that, Carmen does get a little bit of a face wall, but he is in that 251, and it's weird referring to a 251 as something of not as much note as the other tanks, considering last time around it was certainly a little bit more, let's say, instrumental than it is now. But still, those E100s continuing to just lash shells in towards that cap. And back and forth we go, but no one really making the move at this point.
Yeah, nothing really happening. I mean, super slow, super tentative play, and I really have to see what OR wants to do, how they want to break this game down. They seem to be struggling to find a way into DiNG. They started the cap for a little bit, and then they saw, well, they can't really continue it, as maybe an Object 140, call me Rizek, might want to find a way around on. Murkar wants to find his way around in that IE251. So, this is an interesting first few minutes, but nothing really has happened, and Murkar trying to do some damage onto the side of an IS-7 is not really going to work out with 250 penetration heat ammo. Almost never going to penetrate the side of an IS-7. I think right now, OR is going to be wanting to take down Murkar with Carmen, trying to get that damage out, trying to get that RU251 out of the game. And if they do, there might be their cue, that might be their way in, because those two tanks can find pretty easily the side of the other tanks. And, of course, with that Object 140, they don't quite have the tier 10 heavy firepower that DiNG does.
Okay, so some varying options coming through here. And Carmen is quite your thinking man's player on occasion. He does like to theory craft a lot about games and how they're meant to play out. I'm wondering how he's intending to overcome this. You set the rules there, that there's options. How are we saying his name, Mr. Murkar? Is it Murkar?
Murkar.
There we go, we decided. We called him like Maraca for a while, didn't we?
And Mr. Akar.
We did. All right, well, he might be the target of their attention for some small while, but it looks like they're going back towards the north. So they flexed further south, didn't work out. They're going back towards the north for a touch. They're not really finding much out of this one. They really are going to start struggling for time to really find the execution down. There's still about 4 minutes. When is that cutoff time these days?
Well, the cutoff time, is probably about now because with the kind of heavy lineup that DiNG has got, it does take a long time to kill these tanks. Even if you just execute onto one of them, it can take quite a long time to take down an IS-4, for instance. Very good side armor, IS-7 as well, but now we have a bit of an execution. We see out of range heading into that northern cap.
All right, so they've tried to make their move. This is their plan. Here comes the counterattack from DiNG, though. 4 tanks moving across. And look at Shokish, though. He's been caught out a little bit here. He's down to about maybe 2 more shots to come through, depending on who's going to be making those. But that cap is underway. Holtnik, however, in the E100, going to find Carmen, and suddenly that cap has been just spun on its head. It's gone pretty badly thus far. DiNG's holding numbers and HP at this point, but can they close this one out?
I think they might be able to. They just need to push forwards. You can see the HP is clearly in their favor, not only just because they have the E100s, but because they are starting to finish those tanks off. You can see that 140 in the background trying to do as much damage as possible, but still, it's 5 versus 3.
Yeah, and those 3 remaining players aren't sitting too pretty. Riziek is not all that in on the action just yet. He's going to be trying to make a swing around, and maybe Diplomat could fall to this point, but let's see what they're going to bring through. Trading out for 4, though, it's not looking so good for outer range, and they might be just out of luck at this point. Riziek is going to try and do something, but by now it seems a little too late in the day for this. 3 tanks remaining, all sitting relatively pretty. 5.3k against 1.9 thus far, Ollie. It's not looking good.
No, this is game over for sure. I'm pretty sure this 140 probably did the most damage in the game, but you can see that T-57 just slicing its way through the Object 140, no problem at all. And yeah, we'll be DiNG to pick up this first round. Not really tested in the end there, out of range, trying to go for that northern cap. Didn't quite manage to find their way in cleanly. I think their IS-7 went down to about 40% HP straight off the bat, and also a couple of the other tank lost some damage. And you could see they tried to hold the angle, but to no avail.
Yeah, pretty much. It seemed that they ran out of ideas, went back to something they maybe had a theory crafting work towards. Maybe they thought, okay, well, if we just do this, hopefully it'll start working out in favor. Hopefully this crossfire is going to pay off with a split towards the cap, but didn't happen. So 1-0 already to DiNG. Let's kind of talk through the options, though, that we may see coming in from DiNG now on their attack, of course, as we watch this one back. As DiNG were on the defending side, they will be just going through pretty much the motions at this point. This is still very early on in the game, isn't it? This is still when they were trying to find their options. They tried that southern cap 2 there, but they kind of had to flex off it. They weren't able to stick it out too long, and then they tried other things.
No, so what? Yeah, exactly. So what happened is that they made sure that 140 could scout out the northern cap. Kept these 3 tanks here, the 2 E100s and Shokish and the FE215B busy, and then they flex a lot of tanks up north, put the IS-7 hull down in the cap. But that's not actually been such a successful kind of tactic so far. I mean, it's worked for Utopia, strong CMer, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, we saw Cancer Crew, we saw KB just being aggressive, just going for those fights, just trying to get control of the middle, catch a tank out early on, and that's what really seems to be working right now. But quickly running through the damage, Holtnik there with 3.5k, almost 3.6k, and 3 kills in his E100, actually the highest damage dealer so far in the season. And that's throughout all the teams. And we were talking about him last season, how good he was as a player. I think he kind of got strangled a little bit by DiNG's lack of performance, but so far doing very well. So
now let's kind of flip the coin here. So DiNG's seen what happens when you play a very slow approach, let's say, or a slower approach from their opposition, if I can remember their name. My God. God, I'm so not used to seeing Carmen under any other title than like Lemming Train or, Angry Man on Facebook. But now DiNG's seen the approach coming out there. So they've seen, okay, the slow play, trying to hit the southern cap, then going back to the north, and of course it didn't work out. So if you're in DiNG's perspective, do you go back in faster? Do you try and speed up the play? As you said, it's worked out for Kazna before, it's worked out for teams who've picked up victories on the attack here. Is this something they're going to have to look towards, or does that maybe not suit their style so far?
Well, I think you should always play your own game regardless, but I think they should be looking to go like a little bit more aggressive, trying to use those AMX-50Bs instead of the FE215Bs. So you can see, they're using 3 of those heavy tanks again. T-57, obviously with the artillery lineup, it is just the T-57 heavy. The IS-7, the 50B. So pretty much similar lineups, but just with the 50Bs this time round.
All right, so let's see if DiNG has a better plan here. going up against out of range. This is what I'm excited about, is seeing how they now approach it themselves. They've had the chance to sit back, see exactly what out of range tried, but it just doesn't seem to be working out so far for any attack inside that at least I've seen. So now I'm excited to see what DiNG can bring. This is their chance to impress, their chance to show their capabilities, their creativity, and how they approach the attack inside. I think this is where you see a lot of kind of team personality shining through.
Exactly. So let's see how they approach this. I mean, interesting that Mary has gone for the T57 heavy again, when a lot of the teams have gone for the slightly slower firing but more flexible, I guess, AMX50B, but T57 is slightly more chunky in flavor. Karma with the SD1, very, very strong tank, just a lot of spaced armor, so I'm expecting him to be in a side scraping / side any kind of thing situation. But out of range at the beginning, very much aware that the Northern Cap is a high point of contention these days, and you know, I'm going to be sitting up there, but Diplomat going forwards could be risky. He's on the side of Mialos there, so this could be a 2 versus 1.
Yeah, he's going to get the initial damage dealt, and actually he's not taking any back. So far, this is actually quite impressive.
There's a little bit of a curvature to that one.
I was about to say, it doesn't look completely spot on, but still, I credit where it's due. He did the damage and then backed out, so already chipping away out of range. So thus far, a relatively far more successful attack towards the northern side coming out from DiNG than what we saw from out of range, but this is still extraordinarily early. There's no point saying this is all over and done just yet with a couple of shots landing. It's about that final play. So we're going to see the International moving up in towards maybe a more northern sided position in that IS-7. Is that to pressure the cap or just to get a better spot on here?
I think it's going to be pressuring the cap. I mean, anytime the IS-7 is near the cap, it's definitely going to be going in there, especially when it's a cap like in Ghost Town where you're going hull down. And obviously the IS-7 very durable, but you can see immediately as soon as that cap is starting, out of range are mobilizing their forces up north. They want to be getting those overmatches, which is, to be honest, a pretty successful tactic in general. It's 4 versus 2.
Yeah, this could get dangerous. Shokish is in a bit of a predicament here. As is Rules, he's got Mary behind him, but they're only holding one back. There's 4 tanks about to fold in towards him here. This is going to get painful, but actually Dezek is going to be receiving so much damage thus far, and at the moment, DiNG is holding ground. They're going to back away, and I'll Diplomat to help them out, and he's done just that. AMX50B will fall. Mary's going to come around, and now suddenly, out of range, getting pummeled here. They have the overmatch. Carmen's on the backside on the flank. Shokish does fall, but it's a 1-for-1 trade out so far, and out of range, the HP isn't looking pretty.
Well, the thing is, you know, that T57 is now on reload for Meritorious, so it's another 20 seconds. Hulknik wasn't really in the game, that 50B anyway, so out of range has got like a 30 to 40 seconds window where they can actually bring this game back.
Can they do it, though? That's the next big question. As you said, their window is going to be slowly but surely closing as those reloads do come around, but Diplomat's been pinned down. He's down to a one-shot here. Looking for those options was Carmen. He's going to take it. And now suddenly DiNG are looking a little worse for wear. 4 players left standing up against a rather weak and weary out of range, but who's going to clean up here? Mary's looking like he wants that job, and he's going to get it done. Maraka going to come in as well, and we're down to 3. Ollie, this is just turned on its head again.
Yeah, this is back and forward stuff right now, and Hulknik is also just finally in the game again, and it's 2 versus 1 against Mialos.
Mialos is in trouble, though. He's got a 3v1 now. The reload on the International isn't there yet, but he's going to hold him in place, deny any form of retreat. Mary's a little low, but Holdnik denies 1, and now we're down to a 2v3. Oh, excuse me, 2v4. Mary's still alive somehow, and there we have it. Make it 1 man standing, 1v3. Piotr, you better be ready for some insanely hard work, and he can't do it. DiNG, with a brilliant performance coming out on the attack, going to pick up a 2-0 into this map. Really well performed by then. I've got to say, I'm highly impressed by what they brought out. But there was a window of opportunity then for out of range. It just didn't seem that they took it.
Yeah, and it's that situation where you can get the overmatch at the beginning, you can get the win at the beginning, but then it comes to the point of where suddenly you're in a bad position, you're in a positional disadvantage. This is what we've been talking about on Ghost Town a lot. So even if you're getting that 1 T57 down, getting that 1 tier 10 down, tier 10 tank down, you're just going to end up losing so much HP for it that it's just not worth it in there. And so you could see them pushing in. They took down the FET-15B pretty late on in the game. I mean, Shokish was alive for a long time, and Formula 1 or Mialos actually fell before then. So you already were at a disadvantage there. They already lost the tank too early on. This is nice that Kulmir Karelov is going 1-1 against Meritorious, so they doesn't get completely overmatched. But then Dezek dies. Mialos doesn't really help his mate out there in any kind of way, shape, or form, as the AMX50B's turret is the weakest point on that tank. So they lost a tier 10 tank already. You can see the HP is in favor of DiNG quite considerably. They come back here, but you'll see Hulknik is now also heading in the game. They're still behind by 2k, 3k in HP. So despite the fact that this actually looks pretty close, if you look at the numbers, DiNG just gets such an early advantage that there's no way they can really lose that game.
Yeah, and I was actually quite impressed with their attack. You can see the differences there, of course. Out of range, being a little more hesitant, being quite careful, being quite cautious, trying to pull the defenders into some sort of advantageous position for the attackers, but it just didn't work out. Last time DiNG just sat there like, well, why would we walk into that? Now you can see the difference, and I actually really like that from DiNG, looking pretty well-rounded, looking like they're doing the damage, and it actually seems that, a lot of these players are kind of playing well together, they're gelling well as a team, but then again, this is only one map, of course. There's a lot more to be seen coming up, and I'm not sure how I'm going to put my predictions down just yet, but this is looking quite good for DiNG.
Yeah, this is looking good for DiNG, but well, me and Mitch were talking about it last week, and a lot of teams were as well. Like, you need to get those 2 wins on a map, and then you can start getting the momentum going towards you. But it's not all she wrote right yet. We still got a potential another 4 maps, so we might see a comeback on from OR here. They just need to be getting themselves sorted and walking into the game with a high head and not getting too demoralized. And I think just because it was 2 rounds, we're seeing a lot of teams who maybe if they lost 3 or 4 after the first map on 754, they would have already quit the game and not really bothered. So that's kind of out of the equation, and let's hope they reset themselves in this next one.
Well, that's the thing. I guess OR has some sort of experienced head there in the form of Carmen.
Yeah.
He can keep them either calm and relatively, okay, guys, it's only 1 map, don't worry about it, we've got much more to do here. It can be our turn on the next map, let's just turn it around on its head. But then again, Carmen's also one of those guys who does get fairly invested. He does get emotional as well, so I'm wondering how that's going to balance out here. There's a lot to be seen still to come, but next map coming up, I believe, is going to be Cliff. So what are our thoughts on these 2 coming up on this map? Because I haven't seen Cliff in this new game mode personally myself. So what can we keep our eyes on? What are the big defining factors of this map that may be slightly varying to the last time we saw it?
I mean, there's not that much difference between 754 and 768. Just in general, still a lot of engagements in the middle. We're seeing the ALS 50M being, quite heavily used here to try and get that forward firepower, to use that HP, use that armor to bounce a lot at the beginning. We're seeing the STB1s just because they're fantastic rate of fire, highest DPM for any tier 10 medium tank, and the T49 still coming out as a pick on this map because it can do a lot of damage to those lighter Chinese and French tanks and the Japanese tanks as well. So, yeah, I mean, not the Japanese tanks, it's the Chinese tanks. So, I mean, it's plays pretty similarly. We see some varying tactics to that western side, which can slow things down. But in general, I think a lot of the teams realize that the middle is still where you should go.
And I always like that. It was always that back and forth. Who takes the hill control? Is someone brave enough to go for the eastern split? Is it worth it? Or who goes even for, the western side? We saw a lot of the Russian teams doing that western side pressure at the start, but then actually backing away from it. So already, let's take stock of what we're seeing. It does seem as though they're holding true to trend as to what you would have predicted, going straight into that middle. Yeah,
exactly. They're just going to go charging in. Object 432. I had a question on Twitter about that one. In my opinion, it's used because that turret armor is more effective. It can bounce a lot more. It's got more HP, slightly more durable. But Diplomat just going for that exchange. But of course, starting from the north has its disadvantages. Formula 1 has the higher ground, but here comes DiNG.
Yeah, DiNG are going straight in for this. Let's remind ourselves they are on the defending side, but they are not taking that sort of let's say label to any sort of consideration, because here we go. Mary's already down to under 200 HP, but the battle rages on. Formula's going to take down International, which means that DiNG are actually starting to dwindle in HP at this point. But slowly but surely, out of range are getting a little lower. Looking at this so far, everyone's looking a little vulnerable here, Ollie. Which way is this one going to swing?
It's just a little bit of fights everywhere. But I think, DiNG, they need to wait for Diplomat to come off reload. And once they do, they can get back into this game. But I would say out of range are winning some of these engagements. They got the better focus fire. They're finding tanks one by one. But HP still in favor of DiNG. All
right, so 4v3 now, slightly in favor to out of range. Bearing in mind that E50M is only on 56 HP, so not a great deal to work with, and Rules just got caught out. Chunked down 1.2k, still alive in this, and Diplomat is seconds away from reload. He can be a defining factor here if the other two can stay alive, but it's down to just 2, and it looks like out of range have enough left in the tank to pull this one out, and Diplomat is sadly completely negated from the situation. He can do nothing but sit back and watch as Shockish gets chunked down. Diplomat comes in to try and save the day, but it's a little too late, I can imagine. Well, it may be not here. Into the 1v2. Diplomat, what have you got for us? One more shell to make. And he does take down one more, but there we go. Dezek left up against Diplomat, 1v1. Now Diplomat knows he needs to get out of there and somehow stave off the Wolves and try and stay alive for that reload.
If Diplomat actually gets the reload on this, he can quite easily kill DeZek. He can actually miss a shot and still kill DeZek. So he needs to get 4 shells. Obviously that bat chat, 1.8k damage if it does land all those 5 shells. So it's got the potential to really do some damage here. But again, DeZek, if he's predicting it correctly and if he plays this correctly, he can still win. But DeZek needs to kill Diplomat as he is on attack.
All right, DeZek, what have you got here? Can you find out where Diplomat is? They spotted each other. Diplomat now has shells. Can he make this count? One gonna hit. Look for another. Gonna get it. This is huge from Diplomat. He can pull this one off. It's down to these last couple of seconds. Diplomat has maybe a shot lined up here. Does he go for the aggress? Does he go for this? Pushing around, looking for the shot. Gonna take one back. Now down to pretty much a one-shot between these two. Diplomat, 76 HP. Oh, he whiffs the shot there. That could have been it. DeZek now has a chance, and he takes it. Brilliantly shuts down Diplomat after he sees a window of hope starting to appear. And he shuts down anything that DiNG had in mind then. But that was down to the wire. And considering he was out of that game for quite some time,
yep,
that's a very close ending for that one matchup.
Exactly, that's the thing. I mean, you're seeing those situations come in where you have those one-on-ones, and you know, Diplomat definitely just kept his team in the game there. But when you have that reload in the bat chat, you do like 2k damage at the beginning, and you got to wait another 35 seconds until you can do another 2k. So he got it in the end. But
yep,
as soon as we saw the last few seconds of that, where Diplomat actually missed that shell, that's his window of security gone. Brilliant first shell here, nice connection there, 390, gets the second one as well. So now DeZek's a 2-shot, but that's a brilliant hip shot by DeZek. If DeZek didn't land that one, it would be a different story. But Diplomat's still a 2-shot. Remember that 320 damage is what the 140 does. But Diplomat's reversing, backpedaling around the corner. That's the worst thing he could have done. He should have just been aggressive, going for those shots, trying to get the damage, and not gone for the kind of sneaky beaky stuff. But still, he did 4.2k in that damage in that game with 4 kills. Impressive. And DeZek was the highest damage dealer for out of range as well, with 2 kills and 3,400 damage.
Impressive stuff so far. So keeping his team in the game, and that's the difference I guess we can say here is, I really like this map coming in. It shows the kind of variety that you get now in this sort of game mode, and the difference we have is you go from a map like Ghost Town, where it's very passive, quite tactical, very heavy, you know, and it's quite the slow timer, whereas in this one, you're just going off the rails. But you know, neither team seems to be completely comfortable, as it did come down to that 1v1. But then attack and defense, is there really any difference here on the switch, or can that just be clutched out by either team in that situation, I guess?
We're not seeing that much difference on attack and defense. I guess when you're on the defensive side, sometimes we see a pretty passive, a more subdued positional play, because, I mean, if you're sitting a couple of medium tanks back, so you're not giving the game away by picking heavy tanks, then if the attacking team goes forwards across the middle, they're going to get taken down very quickly. So that's definitely something that can happen. But then you see the defensive team the attacking team try to make their way up the hill, get that lighthouse control, and then they start winning the game, like we saw in 754 at the grand finals. Where we saw that positional play, trying to get the damage on the hill and trying to get the damage on the lighthouse, and then once they got the peaks, pushing forwards to close the game out.
All right, so there's still a lot on the line here. Of course, this is not over just yet. These two teams are going back and forth. Currently sat at 2-1. First map did go decisively in favour to DiNG. However, this is the resurgence, apparently, from out of range. So they've decided they want to turn up here and just clutch rounds out. But they have another bite of the cherry to get it all tied up at 2-2. Whether or not they can do that is yet to be seen. Of course, their opponents are going to be looking to slow them down. But have we seen any big changes coming in with these lineups, Ollie, or is this pretty much the same sort of thing?
Pretty much the similar kind of lineups. Of course, got the 50Bs from out of range. Now they're on the attacking side. So kind of Tornado Rocks-esque. I mean, one of the most favored tanks at the moment, 768, with a lot of burst damage. Don't do a whole lot of damage in total. I mean, 1.6k from those short 400 damage shells, but in extremely fast succession, accurate APCR, no heat ammo, no messing about, and they can be really effective here. Just normal combination of 140s, T69 for that turret armor, Batchat for the hill play, and Object 430 for some of that sustained damage as well.
Alrighty, so we are into this one now. Out of range are on the defending side, and DiNG are on the attack. Will we see out of range go for the aggressive play into this one, or will they sit a little closer to that defending title's sort of, I'd say, reputation? We're going to find out soon. A little bit of a different beginning here. Last time DiNG on their defense did head straight over, went for the battle. This time a lot slower. And already the first shots being made.
Yeah, a couple of exchanges going forwards, and maybe the team that actually wins this exchange will be able to win this one. Interesting that the 430's gone down into that southern side for DiNG. Obviously 140 is a normal positional play for that one, and the 430 doesn't really have that turret traverse. It can't do a 360 with a turret, so can definitely struggle. But at the moment, Outrange definitely losing those exchanges to Diplomat.
Diplomat
Wants some vengeance.
This is huge. Formula's being bullied off of that hill. Brilliant stuff from Diplomat, making up for the mistakes of that previous round. Just going to pick up the opening kill in this and defining a massive advantage for DiNG here. But now can they take it? They've got hill control. They've got a good presence towards that western side, and they're starting to pin in out of range. However, the damage isn't just about trickling in yet.
No, it's not going too in favor of DiNG right now. Actually, it's starting to go into their favor. They're wanting to try and finish it off. They got some good hull down positions, but Outrange is pushing forwards. Yeah,
and International is just starting to land those shells back to back to back. And looking at E50M again, great focus fire coming out from DiNG. They want to take this gun out of the game here. Holtnik is surrounded, but Mary's going to save the day for a second and actually managed to take down 2 tanks. A 2-for-1 trade out coming in, and DiNG are looking dominant at this point. Out of range are down to 2. Now don't get me wrong, Dezek did do wonderfully last time, but now Kedavan, the last man standing, going to be swept aside, and Diplomat certainly making up for any errors in that previous game.
Yep.
And that is a very big performance. And piece by piece, he just unraveled what Out of Range were trying to do then.
Yeah, Formula One trying to get that higher position, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know how effective that position can be. Wanting to lock it down and just got absolutely destroyed straight away by Diplomat. Just going aggressive, pushing him off the hill, saying, okay, maybe I receive 800 damage here, but that guy's going to fall. And as soon as they have that tier 10 advantage, they start to peek around the corner, put so much pressure into Out of Range that they really have no room to breathe. And yeah, I mean, that's game over. They were like 4, 5, 6k ahead at that point, and they just wanted to continue pushing forwards.
Really big performance coming out there, and I actually loved watching that. That was just a nice tactical game, but also kind of involving that individual brilliance that we saw Diplomat bringing back in. And just keep an eye on this. You can see Formula One at this point had a great position, complete overwatch towards the likes of Rules, Mary. All these guys were taking damage, but now just out the side of the screen, you start seeing Diplomat coming into position and applying that pressure.
And there's no one there to really support Formula. Like if there's a guy in D4.
Yeah.
In that kind of position we saw a lot from this T54 lightweight in 754. That could have been, Diplomat also dead, because it would have been 2 versus 1, but there's no one to support him, and that definitely causes out of range a lot of headaches. And to be honest, DiNG just does a great job keeping the pressure on, wanting to go forwards, even when Diplomat is on reload.
Really nice stuff coming out. Just watching this one play out. The damage wasn't coming in at that point. You saw the counterattack from out of range following, and it just didn't work out. They kept the damage coming up. That little bit of presence towards the western side as well complemented what they were doing really nicely. And it just seemed to work out perfectly. You're seeing the power of a one man at certain points. Diplomat in the first game could have clutched it out himself. The second go of it pretty much made all the difference. And I don't know how it would have played out if maybe he hadn't challenged down Formula. I think we'd have seen a very different matchup then.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's the thing. Sometimes you're going to screw up, sometimes you're going to do well, you're going to make the right decision sometimes, and sometimes you're not. So, I mean, Diplomat definitely did what he needs to do, got it done, and kept his team and won this team that round. But fantastic few rounds by DiNG, 3 on the board now, looking like they are starting to pull ahead of Out of Range.
And Melly, that's kind of sitting true to what the community felt at the very start here. Not quite having faith in Out of Range just yet, but they're still a newish team. They're still getting used to it, and they have picked up a round. Once again, Twitch chat knows what's up, as ever.
He still is heavily rooting for DiNG with almost 70% in their favor. And if you look on the entries, usually you see, okay, the community overall thinks that it's going to be a very close game. Or they say, okay, this is going to be definitely one-sided. But in this match, it seems like they can't really decide where to put their money on. Well, it's on DiNG, but not if it's, a close match or a one-sided. So we have like a mixed...
mixed bag of results,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Exactly. From 5-2 to 5-4, there's everything in there. So
I guess people aren't too used to the teams yet, I guess, right? A new season, new game mode.
And still everything can happen.
Exactly.
So we saw it already happen last week, and I can't say it often enough. And people, if you like the new team mode, esports mode, battle mode. So that's all the words used for that. Head over to Twitter, use the hashtag WGLEU to tell us what you like. on this new format, or what you don't like, where you think we could improve, or maybe not. Ollie is heavily rooting for Runeberg getting thrown out of the map pool, as he stated a couple of times. Yes, exactly. And on the other side, Lauren, people are really happy to have you back because they can finally understand what the casters are saying.
I can put on a fake accent if you want. I can work on it. I'll come back like next week. Oh, I don't know if I can do Cockney without swearing. That's the only problem. You know what I mean?
It's an issue with that
accent.
Yeah,
it's a problem. I don't know. I'll work on an accent for you guys so you can't understand a single word I'm saying.
Bristolian.
Oh, God.
I don't know say it. Like some cider.
Cider. You can go for West Country. There you go.
You can go West Country if you want.
I don't sound like a pirate enough, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like West Country just sounds like pirates drunk on cider.
No, it's not good.
No.
I have lost my West Country accent a lot since I went to university.
Do you say like Oz?
So yeah, it
Same
comes
with
back.
Dorjan as well.
Comes back.
Dorjan only sounds like he's from
West Somerset though.
Somerset.
I'm from Bristol.
Somerset.
Yeah.
It's great. Melly,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's accent.
Apple juice is very nice. I'll have to have you know.
I'd need a new accent to cover my German one up. So
we'll work on something together.
Accent, maybe.
The Turkish one.
Yeah.
No, I have a German accent when I speak Turkish. It's really funny. But yes.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's a nice accent.
It's something.
Yeah.
It's something.
Well, the vote is over, people, but the next vote is up in a few minutes. So check our Facebook page, facebook.com/WGLEU. And while you're on it, leave us a like. And also, don't forget to follow our Twitch channel to get a notification the next time we're going online.
So, it does seem as though the teams are almost ready, I can imagine.
Yep.
We'll be getting this one started up soon. Do we know the next map?
Yeah, Cliff.
Cliff, okay.
Oh, no, Cliff Mines, I believe.
I'd say, wait.
Mines, yeah, we just had Cliff.
That.
Yeah.
You're right, Ollie.
Yeah, my bad. Oh, yeah, this was Cliff. Next one's going to be mine.
It's all right.
Way,
it's the first show back, you know, I'm a little slow.
Yeah, fair enough. We all, we can have a few slip-ups here and there. But yeah, so mine's going to be the next map, a map we've seen a few times this season so far, one of the more popular ones. It's good. I love it. I really liked it last season. It was one of my favorite maps. But we're having DiNG just go aggressive straight away with a very fast line up at the hill.
All right, they're not messing around. DiNG are on the defending side. On the attack, will be out of range. And straight away, we're seeing this clash head-to-head. Carmen put himself right into the action. The IS-7 splitting down towards the south on the western side. And let's see how this one goes down. Already Carmen going to take a bit of a beating. And Diplomat just wants to add insult to injury after an outstanding performance in that last game. But can he do any more? That's the thing. Of course he can. There goes another. That's 2 kills already for his name. International wants a little bit of the action. And piece by piece, DiNG are just dismantling out of range.
Yeah, great stuff. I mean, super aggressive at the beginning. It somehow worked out. I mean, of course, when you're starting from the north, normally you manage to get the early damage. You manage to get the hill first. But this time, DiNG has just swung that in roundabouts and taken advantage of the fact that out of range had gone for that lower cap with the double IS-7. See what they can do, though, if they can try and come back from this game.
Let's see how they're going to plan to turn this one out of range. They've got a couple of tanks still remaining, as you noted. They're going in for that cap, but by now they're already lacking 3 players, and DiNG have everyone still alive. A little beaten black and blue, Mary on the cross there, but it doesn't matter. They're still standing in this, and that cap has certainly been hindered and hampered, and they can't continue with this. They're surrounded, and literally shell by shell, they're being chunked down here. Yeah,
I don't think out of range is doing too well right now. They've got the lower ground. The cap is pretty much unrealistic. I think they should probably try and get out of there. They need to get some sort of control back in this game. Use Call Me Piotr, who's at that one getting absolutely destroyed, and that Milos bouncing Meritorious is not good. International takes down Call Me Piotr in 3 versus 7.
Yeah, this is looking bad. Out of range, you're out of options, and they're going to be out of players very soon. Look how low these guys are. Formula 1 is taking a bit of a beating at the moment. Holtnick's looking like he wants to kind of just dive in on this one and add insult to injury. There we go. International finally puts him down, leaving 2 players standing for out of range. And DiNG with the aggression, the sheer force to kick this one off, close out the game extraordinarily quickly, barely making it to 3 minutes in that. That is terrifying.
Yeah,
DiNG just wanted it done. They're like, nah, I want dinner right now.
It was like that first round when on Cliff, when out of range just pushed straight through the middle and went for the aggression. So, I mean, we've seen like so many times this season so far how it played out in the last season as well, as the team from the north can get the hill, is guaranteed to get the hill. But DiNG, with their lineup, 251s, Bat Chats, Object 140s, they just push the hill. They just go for it, full medium style. And I think Out of Range should have probably predicted that one, considering that's going to be a pretty obvious peak. We see a lot of teams who with an IS-4 or some sort of heavier tank, maybe even tank destroyer on this map when they're playing the defensive side. So that's a dead giveaway, but Out of Range deciding to go for that tactic regardless, and it cost them.
Yeah, it certainly did. Now, the problem is they're sitting on a bit of an awkward marker at this point. They've really started to dwindle in picking up these rounds. And, you know, when you're in the first map and you get 2-0'd, okay, well, there's a lot more maps coming up. By the third map and the scoreline's 4-1, you're not as confident anymore. Now it's okay, maybe we need to turtle, maybe we need to play a little bit smarter. What can we do to change? Because they seem a little bit shaky here. They don't seem to have a plan, or their plan was to get the cap in the end, and that was shattered. Yeah. Let's be honest. What can you do at this point? You're 4-1 down. It's...
Well, again, the great thing about this game mode is you can come back from these kind of score lines, but it's extremely hard to do so. You really have to start working for it. But yeah, I mean, 4-1, like last season, I don't think we saw maybe once, I think the whole season, maybe a 4-1 comeback.
I think it was Kasner like throwing it basically.
Yeah, maybe just once, or maybe none. I honestly can't remember. But
I recall one moment where it was Kasner who messed up and they had the victory. I can't remember who against.
Something like that. And that is a possibility, but a very faint possibility with this game mode, because we're still going to be playing mines. You know, even if we go on a map where Out of Range is a little bit more comfortable on, it's still going to be very hard for them to, be successful, come back, and start winning the games.
It's going to be a long road back for them. They are a good side. They've shown some good moments as well. I just think the problem is that overall DiNG just seem a hell of a lot stronger. You know, their one-round win was essentially off the back of an individual's good play, which is nothing to be sneered at. You know, it was a very close round. But still, it's not the way you want to be kicking this thing, this kind of regular season into gear. We are getting towards, not mid-season yet. It's still very early on in the days, but still, this is it's when you want to start getting these victories in as early as possible, because you always look back at the end of the season going, if only they picked up that game. Exactly. If only they've got that one more, point under their belt. But still, it's not over yet. It's 4-1. As you said, comebacks can happen. And we're going to see, the Batmobile coming out to play 3, to be precise, for DiNG here. They're going out on this one again on a limb. I'm kind of curious to see how this one plays out. Yeah, I mean, again, very fast, very agile lineup, but being on the attacking side, this is a little bit more predictable. This is what we would expect, and DiNG, just no messing about. They're going to get the heal, they're going to control it, and they're going to say, Out of Range, come at me. But of course, Out of Range with so much more HP to play around with those 50 Bs, it's going to be maybe more of an even exchange. All right, Diplomat takes 1 en route, 1 is given back, make it 2 now. Actually, somehow they've got some relative hill control and dealt more damage. Now, the only issue is here, Rules has been a little caught out. Now, AMX50B is going to do the damage, but look at this, actually, Out of Range are going to go for the counterplay. They're going straight in on the aggress. Great stuff here coming out. Shockish is a little worse for wear. He's been being black and blue and completely caught out. Great stuff coming from Iziek, catching out 1, but it's a 2-for-1 trade out. How are they losing out in numbers now? They got a lot of damage from the 50. The Batchats actually come off the hill. Still pretty even. You can see DiNG is still ahead in terms of HP, but that E50 just so much weight, so much horsepower, just charges into that T60 and takes it down. But now, what can these 4 remaining players do for DiNG? They're still in this one. They're not out of it yet, but they're certainly up against the odds. Now, big mistake there by Holtnik, actually. He missed that last shot or didn't do any damage against Kormi Kurlov, and that cost him his life, and didn't manage to take down that 50B either, so that's a big, big problem. And Out of Range now, 1,000 hit points ahead. They got 1 tank more alive, even though 1 is down to a 1-shot, and 2 versus 1 on the hill. Yeah, good luck, Diplomat. I'm not sure if you can clutch this one out again, but he's certainly going to give it a good try, but he's in that 2v1. Formula 1 is going to be his target of focus, but Diplomat kind of dodging and weaving between it is still down to a 1-shot now. 74 HP. He's done great work, but not great enough, and it's all into the hands of International. Still on 1k HP. He's got a little bit of work to do. That's the first underway. Now 2 more to find. And a lot of shells coming in from that hill. Already that hill possession is such an advantage. It looks like this one is pretty much done and dusted. 1 more shell's going to do the job. International knows his time is certainly up, and Riziek wants to do the damage, and he does. Out of range, turn it on its head, finally picking up a well-needed round victory in this one, but it did take some time there. But an interesting play. So let's kind of recap what happened then. So DiNG kind of went for a little bit of hill presence. The Batchats did go up there, 2, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. 3. Yeah. So in the end, though, we saw Out of Range going, all right, you go up there, we'll just charge the rest of you. And it kind of worked out.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like a let's say 3 or 4 second window where the Batjets haven't quite got the reload yet. So you can push over that hill and maybe only receive 1 or 2 shells from those Batjets going across. So you can get the HP overmatch, you can get the damage overmatch, the tanks overmatch onto the tanks that are sitting below the hill. And they went really well for out of range there. They had the E50 just charging straight across. Mialos just doing so much damage in that E50 with just the ramming, and that's just the downhill speed coming into the equation. Great focus fire from out of range. Some mistakes by DiNG in that middle central area from Hultnik. Some just bad coordination from DiNG, just getting caught out. Batchat staying on the hill. Maybe they should have actually headed off the hill. Diplomat doing that one. And yeah, I think just very focused, very dedicated, very linear kind of play from out of range worked really well. Looking at the damage, Formula 1 with 5 kills. He had a bit of a shaky start to this game, but seems to be working his way into it. And 3,000 damage. International with that Batchat doing 3.2k and 2 kill. Diplomat just blown with 3,000. But a lot of that damage was kind of useless and not really relevant at the end of that game.
Okay, so all in all, I said it's a long road back. That's the first step on that path to recovery, at least for now. And we've got another map coming up. This is a lot quicker than the last game mode. I'm kind of getting used to this one. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Prokhorovka's coming up.
Exactly. We're going to be moving on to Prokhorovka. So another more open map. We've had Cliff and Mines, which are kind of like semi-open maps. Yeah. Prokhorovka is super open. Still a lot of play around the middle. Of course, we had this in Season 5. Playing around the middle, playing over those train tracks. We saw that fantastic round by Genghis last play day where he managed to solo 3 tanks in that 3 versus 1 situation, and that's definitely a possibility on this map. Faster lineups, you can see artillery in the game with that tier 8 Lorraine 15551. Very accurate, very fast, very agile, very easy to use. Can really start to do some damage, can do some work.
So are we seeing, so break it down for me, because last season around, or last time we saw Prokhorovka, it was kind of like, okay, well, you had the EPS or Evil Panda Squad approach of just roll in a pack, go straight in for it. Or you saw the more standard approach, you spread out through the map, get the spots, kind of work off the back of it, the kind of ex-Virtus Pro style, kind of like pin down one weakness. What are we seeing more predominantly here?
We've seen a little bit of both. We've seen some just pure out engagements in the middle. We saw Womats doing that. We saw Tornado Rocks doing that. Okay. More Tornado, actually. We've seen a lot of polarized games where you have the southern side, the attacking side going to left, that forest road, and the defensive side going to that right side, or just going into the middle. So you do have that polarized kind of play still, which was prevalent in 742 when this map was featured. But looking at these lineups, I would guess that with a slower lineup with the 2 IS-7s and the Lorraine, it's going to be pretty hard for DiNG to actually take down those STPs and those Object 140s. They have one less tier 8 tank than Navi RU-251, which has been pretty good on this map so far. So I think DiNG is going to be looking to slow R down a lot. So already out of range, going to be trying to get in some form of position at this point. Diplomat's going to be keeping eyes on that cross. Carmen's going to be the man to receive if he does get lit up by this point. But as you said, it is relatively polarizing. We are seeing something somewhat similar to how it used to go down at this point. Carmen does get spotted, as does Diplomat, so early information is gathered. Yeah, a bit of early information, nothing too spectacular. I guess Diplomat could be taken down if they have some control over the middle area from out of range, but out of range starting that cap, and you can see DiNG is very well aware of that, already just preemptively pushing over across the middle with those 2 IS-7s. Obviously those 2 IS-7s were picked for that kind of hull down positional play. And Shockies just take damage. We saw actually Kaza use a similar tactic, but on the right side last match day. Obviously that IS-7 got absolutely wrecked, but here we go. DiNG is wanting to get those peaks. Who's going to go for it? They have at least stopped the cap here. It looks like they want to go for a bit of a counterplay. Look at the complete wave moving towards the north here. Those RU-251s and everything else just piling in towards the north. That is going to be a huge bit of play. And actually those IS-7s not connecting towards the south might give them a bit of freedom here if they're going to go for the commitment over that railroad. And they are. Look at Rules. Melted down, and one by one they're going through and actually receiving more damage than I expected. Maybe working into a little bit of the hands here of DiNG, but they are going to commit to this out of range. But this looks like maybe an error here. They're stuck out in the middle. I mean, Rules got pretty lucky actually not getting taken out there, but yeah, this is definitely back in the favor of DiNG because no initial kills were made by out of range at this early stage, and that's like a very awkward position. This is really going to be about out of range, getting control over some sort of areas, trying to get Formula 1 into this game, trying to take down those IS-7s. This is a curious bit of play.
I don't know if Out of Range accidentally committed those 2 tanks over, Riziek and Dezek both being over there seems like a bit of a mistake, but let's see what they can make off the back of this. They are doing great damage further towards the southern side of things. And maybe they can make some more of this one. Drizziak is going to, Dezek is now in a 2v1 pretty much here. Shockish going to finish off the deal with rules in the end. And it's just gone from bad to worse for Outrage. Did they just...
Yeah, a little bit of a team kill came out there from Catch Me onto Formula, but it is still the clean-up crew from DiNG. I mean, there's 7 versus 2 right now. And Komiya Piotr in that SDB trying to do as much as he can. Nice little bounce there. The Japanese tank not as weak as you might expect.
And well, Piotr got to just face the music
Japanese
at this point.
Tank. Damn
because
Chinese tank. I always get those mixed up.
And to be fair, Out of Range just looked out of ideas in that map. An absolute shambles of a performance from them. DiNG just given the opportunity of redemption. I don't know what on earth happened then. Maybe miscommunication, maybe a poor execution, but something went wrong if I'm completely honest, because Out of Range just didn't do anything. They went for that northern play. They had all their tanks together. They went, okay, let's commit over the northern side. Yep. They almost caught someone out, and then 2 tanks committed. The rest kind of backed away, and it just fizzled to nothing.
That's the problem. I mean, we saw a little bit of this from Out of Range last week. They just need that execution in those balls just to go for it.
Yep.
Rules like, okay, he didn't die, which isn't great from them, but they should just push.
It's this point.
All of them should have pushed off, and they should have just gone straight to where Diplomat is and just gone for that engagement, because they know that 2 I-7s aren't particularly accurate, so they probably will miss. So they've got to worry about those 3 tanks sitting in behind the ridge, but they still got to peek to make the shots, and you have Formula in behind to punish them. So I think those 5 tanks you can see in your screens, below your screens there, should have just gone for the engagement straight onto Diplomat, straight onto Holtnik, and once they had just got past that rock you can see in the middle of the screen, that would have been safe time for them. The I-7s wouldn't be able to engage internationally, the STV1 wouldn't have been able to engage either. So I think there's some mistakes there. Also, you got to remember Meritorious was playing the artillery, so they have that 1 less combat tank to play around with.
I'm just kind of curious as to what happened then, if I'm completely honest. I'd love to hear it from Karma's perspective. I'm sure we can find out as to what happened in that kind of final round here, because that's it. That's done. That's a terrible way to lose out, let's be honest, because, Out of Range started to look actually relatively decent, on occasion. We saw they could bring on mines. We saw a little bit of fire there. We saw the individual brilliance a little bit on Cliff. And then that's how you're going to be remembered going out in this game.
Not good.
Bit of a shame.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame. Pretty one-sided match. I think DiNG's starting to look like a little bit of a better team this season. Obviously, again, a team who just barely made it through the relegations, managed to stay into season. Almost went to the relegations and they managed to stay in the season. So, yeah, not a bad result at all for them. Out of Range probably a little bit disappointed with that one. I must admit, probably the biggest problem there was just on Ghost Town. A lot of work to do in that one.
Yeah, certainly a lot to be seen from them on the initial map, at least. That could have been a much better starting point. But still, it's not just about us, it's about you guys at home, and you guys were backing the victors thus far, according to the votes. Melly, did it stay that way throughout?
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't change at all. It also went... the vote result went even higher in favor of DiNG at the end, so it was like 72% or something. And I checked Carmen's prediction on this one, and he was actually pretty confident on winning this.
Oh, Carmen.
Too bad. Next time, buddy. Well,
maybe a little bit
people, the next vote is online, so head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and get involved for the second match of the night, which is Kasna Crew versus Knäckebröt. And yes, also use the hashtag WGLEU to tell us what's on your mind and what you expect from this matchup.
Well, there you go. Melly summed it up perfectly. Tell us what's on your mind. Let us know. And I do believe, guys, as Melly said, we'll be back after a very short break.